think I just took somebody's water.
Well, that's okay. That was right used. I think there's probably some student and classroom management we can learn through Tai Chi in there, so that sounds very interesting. And it's nice to be able to pull people out of retirement to come back and share with us. We appreciate that. And then our next author is Tamara McKinnon from nursing.
We brought incentives to stay awake.
Oh, excellent.
Candy, boiled candy. So I'm looking at Lori and thinking, I wonder if this would work in that little technique that we just learned about yeah, I don't think that's going to fly in our nursing faculty meetings, but I'll let Lori give it a try. So I just want to thank you all for having us here today. There seems to be a little bit of a Santa Cruz theme today. We originally had 4 students coming to talk to you today about their experience working and authoring one of the chapters of the book. 3 of them are stuck on Highway 17 because it is closed. So Dominique, bless her heart, is here. She's going to talk with you about the experience as a student of writing one of the chapters of the book. The name of the book is Global Service Learning in Nursing, which explains the globe candy that we're passing out. This has been an area of interest for me for many, many years, and I was mentored into the role of editing the book. I also wrote many of the chapters in the book, and Dominique and some of her colleagues were students at the time and expressed interest in participating, and it turned out to be just a really wonderful experience. And I'm going to let Dominique take it from here, and then we'll see if we have any additional comments at the end. But this is the group of folks that authored Chapter 11 of Global Service Learning.
Anybody know the restaurant Chocolat in Santa Cruz? This picture was taken there. This is the group of, and we actually have one of our new partners here in this picture too. This is the front cover of the book chapter that we had worked on. How I come to work with Tammy and the other gals. While attending Tammy's clinical in Santa Cruz, I actually met 2 of the other authors, Marina Olivieri and Suzanne Sampson. They couldn't be here today, but they were also students in nursing at the time. All 3 of us were actually. And they had come and spoken in her class about what their experiences in community health nursing were like. And they also shared a little bit about what they were working on with Tammy. So I approached Tammy and I said, you know, Tammy actually is what we call her, but Dr. McKinnon. I approached Dr. McKinnon and I said, you know, I'm interested in working with you. And surprisingly, she was so eager to work with students, and she immediately took me in, took me under her wing, and I got involved. And I was surprised because it's not often that faculty are so open to the chance to work with students, and I was really excited about it. So then I met Marina and Suzanne, and they were very welcoming as well. And soon we were meeting weekly. And how we got started with working on this chapter is we started basically using search engines on the internet. We were looking up service learning and study abroad and bonding over ginger tea. Under Dr. McKinnon's guidance, we developed this chapter, and the focus was to create a resource list that could be used by students, could also be used by nurses, and also by educators. And so if they're searching for opportunities in service learning, then this was essentially like an index where they could go to and look up different organizations that exist. So we spent months researching, well, what's out there and what can be utilized. Working with Dr. McKinnon and the gals has been inspirational. We had the opportunity to attend the conference for the National League of Nursing in Orlando, Florida. And there we helped Dr. McKinnon with a workshop where we also were able to promote the book. You can see us here, there. It was inspirational because it reinforced the wider role that nurses have as educators, researchers, and policy advocates. It's a role that goes beyond the bedside. Also, I'd like to say that it means a lot as a student to be working with an instructor outside of the classroom. The reason is it sends a message that, I'm going to say this loudly, it sends a message, I believe in you. Okay, and that is super powerful. It really meant a lot that an instructor was interested in taking time to work with you and see you as a coworker, not just as a student. With that said, I encourage faculty to consider partnering with students as much as possible on their projects and research endeavors, because as I shared with you, it can be an invaluable experience. I'd like to give a shout out right now to Marina and Suzanne, the other students that we worked with. They couldn't be here today, but they are still working really hard, and we're continuing to go on with this project. We've got 1 minute, okay. Now we welcome our newest addition, Claire. She was in the picture there, and we soon will be traveling to Anaheim, California for the National League of Nursing's 2012 Summit, where we again will be helping to facilitate a workshop with Dr. McKinnon.
So much.
Thank you, Cameron and Dominique. Greg Payne's next from Kinesiology. Are you going to present Charlie's book as well? Or just briefly? Okay.
Can you hear me okay? Is this on? Yeah, now it is. Yeah, a couple things to start off with. Alice mentioned at the beginning that Charlie couldn't be here today, and he's really very sorry he couldn't be here, called away at the last minute. But he's not only our dean, he's also one of the textbook authors, so I put his book up there as well. Third edition of this book on therapeutic recreation, which is his area of academic expertise, just came out either this year or last year, but certainly within the last 2 years. The other book up there is my book, and Heidi Pendleton. Heidi, where are you? We were joking before this started that her book is the one down there on the end, and she definitely has the biggest honking book up there on the table. But I think I'm feeling kind of old, because I think mine is probably the granddaddy of the books up there. This is the 25th anniversary of this book. It just came out this year in the 8th edition. And it's a book on human motor development, which is my area of academic expertise. I study changes in human movement across the lifespan. That's what that book is about. So we have chapters in there about infant reflexes. We have chapters in there and sections on infant creeping and crawling and handwriting development and kids sports and kids fitness, all the way up through the rest of the lifespan, including things like adult physical activity and really compelling topics like falls in adulthood, one of the most feared aspects of getting older, what we can do about those, and describing gait patterns and changes in walking in old age. So that's what the book is about. For a book to be around this long means it's probably been pretty successful. I've done several books. I think it's 18 editions of 5 books now. And this one probably, I'm guessing, has been the most read and most studied of all of them over the years. It's been used in hundreds of universities throughout the world in places as remote as Thailand. It's been translated into other languages. Here's what it looks like in Portuguese. It's used in Brazil as well. And I think one of the things two of the things that's made it successful, and I really had no idea when we started, but one of them is readability. When we first started writing this book as a much younger professional, what was important to me was how the book was going to sound to the best experts in my field. And I would sit there writing these sections composed entirely for Lolis Halverson, not a name that you know, but at one time was one of the top people in human motor development in the nation. And then I'd stop and I'd go, wait a minute, this book isn't for Lolis Halverson, it's for her students. And I'd stop and I'd redo that section. I'd rewrite it. And it's not that we dumbed the book down by any means. The most difficult concepts in motor development, at least at an undergraduate level, are in this book. We just wrote it in a way that can be understandable for students. And over the years, the book's probably been reviewed by probably 40 or 50 different reviewers by now. And one of the things that comes across time and time again is it's a very readable book, and we're very proud of that aspect of it. Second thing I would recommend to folks in writing a book is find a niche. When we wrote this book, there were other motor development books out there. But believe it or not, it was 1987 after all, but believe it or not, there was no book at that time that covered the lifespan in human motor development. The tendency in the world of human development then was to study children and adolescents, not adults. But now with demographic changes in population that you all know about, it was critically important that we had a section in there, now it's a big section, about adulthood and motor development. So our niche initially was a lifespan approach to human motor development. And then we had a second one. There was no other book out there at the time, and still to this day, that looked at human motor development in interrelationship with other aspects of human development. In other words, what does our human movement have to do with intellectual development? What are the influences of intellectual development on our human movement? What about social emotional development? And what about even things like moral development? This book kind of wraps around all those issues, and that was different at the time. So those are some things to think about in terms of writing a book. I wrote an article a few years ago. It was a tutorial on writing a college textbook. And one of the things in there we said is you want to ask yourself when you start this process, are you a sprinter or a marathon runner? And you know what you need to be here. You really need to be a marathon runner. And if you're not a marathon runner, it's not necessarily a bad thing. There are other kinds of scholarship you can do. But if you can write a book, it's a marathon, and you need to stick with it. And I learned from one of our publishing companies, in fact, a big one, McGraw-Hill. When we first contracted with them, I felt so happy and pleased with myself and was open to having this relationship with my editors, but they were really very aloof. And I couldn't understand why they were that way. It all changed. That's when we signed the contract, but it all changed when we actually finished the book. Then they were open and looking for this relationship that I've been looking for all along. And I thought, how strange is all that? Well, they told me that as many as 35% of people who sign a book contract never finish a book. So they're not expecting, just because you signed a contract, that you'll necessarily finish the book. So you want to ask yourself, are you really a marathon runner before you take this on? And the word mentor has been used here a bunch of times today. I would definitely say find a mentor who can help you with the process, because working on a contract and finding a publisher can be kind of a tricky thing. So thanks.
Thanks, Greg, and congratulations on, I guess it would be the silver anniversary. You got the 25, something like that. Then our next author is Heidi Pendleton from Occupational Therapy. It is a big book.